I am 45, test director, the man who keeps a room from deciding it's smarter than the people in it. I've drilled fire. Spill quaked the ways. A building can teach you humility. I have not drilled 0G without a rocket. In front of me, Mateo pushed off the rack to catch a rolling cart. He missed the cart and caught air. His body started drifting up toward the ceiling grid with the quiet you hear in cathedrals. Leah reached to grab him, forgot the rule none of us had invented yet, and kicked against the floor. Both of them rose like obedient ideas. Okay, I said, barely. The spectrum tilted, a fractional slide in pitch like a radio cocking its head. The intercom took my breath, filed it, and returned my words half a beat late in my own voice. Breathe shallow. Do not push off. It would become the rule that kept us alive. I had said it once. The rune decided it was scripture. The plot in the center monitor showed our object skirting a boundary that did not exist yesterday. No catalog, no ephemeris, no engineer's note, just a faint unmarked line labeled by the software as T9 because ID christened the training sector Tango-9 for the night. The trace touched it like a finger touches a mirror. The GPS 1 pulse per second beat that gives computers permission to boot. Our time server returned an invalid epoch across the network. The wall of digits that tells the team it never has to wonder wrote in bright, bureaucratic panic. Hands off, I said. No pushes, shallow breaths. The screwdriver above the bench turned one lazy rotation as if the air had decided to be water. The door chimed by the fire exit played 2 notes backward, down, up. My stomach wanted to invent a new organ just to complain with it. Sir, Leia said, palms open, knees bent, learning a new gravity in real time. Behavior over names, I said. Say object. Say line. Do not say the other word. Cape, she said. The sound small in a room that had learned to be here. The thin tone in our headsets inhaled, exhaled. Mateo rotated slowly, eyes wide, shoes pointed at the ceiling, tiles like a prayer the ceiling might answer. I threw the cart in the opposite direction, not as a push but as an anchor. Its mass gave me a counter move. My belt caught a grounding strap. I pulled, and the strap turned strength into guidance. I caught Mateo's sleeve and anchored him to the rack, both of us pretending we'd planned choreography. Someone's coffee bulb grazed my cheek, cool as apology. I watched it subdivide into smaller beats and then pause, each beat with its own mind, each mind listening. The tone tilted again, and the intercom borrowed me, breathe shallow. Do not push off. Half beat late, a kind mimicry. It was learning our timing like a metronome learns patience. I should have been giving orders about breakers and safeties. I went for air instead. Short breaths, I said. If you exhale hard, you're a rocket. Leah nodded and held her mouth the way divers do when they're counting a cave. The cursor on her plot slid half a beat before her fingers moved the mouse. She pulled her hand away, the cursor obliged by moving anyway. No rule, I said. Writing as I spoke because writing makes panic stand in line. Do not push off progress only via fixed points. Use rungs, rails, handles. No, kicks. The power backup hummed sweetly. We hadn't lost power. We'd lost a contract. The analog clocks insisted on 303 like stubborn witnesses. Every digital instrument blinked, or no time sourced. The GPS LEDs were dead and canted. The mice on the desk were not mice anymore. They were intentions that the cursor preempted. The radio on the wall lab-wide VHF. We're not supposed to need open the line by itself. 7 seconds of open carrier? No squelch tail, no call. Only the tone writing it like a teacher correcting your posture. Then silence. The log stamped TX 7.0000 with a blank timestamp field. Who transmitted? I asked. No one, Leah said. We didn't. The intercom clicked, took 2 counts in, 3 counts out, and said gently in my voice, we didn't. Mateo started to drift again, this time slower, a body keeping its promise. I grabbed the overhead cable tray and let my hands do what hands have always done when rooms forget to be rooms. Hold. The tone adjusted a whisper, the way a theremin does when you bring your palm closer, not touching, Just explaining. The fire alarm panel showed green. The pressure in the suppression lines was normal. The world was fine on paper and absurd in practice. Director, Leah said. The object had begun to ride the unmarked line as if it recognized rank. No crossing, no retreat. Parallel. The cursor kept moving before the hand. I thought a sentence I did not say, don't say Comet. The tone tilted so slightly it felt like my jaw had imagined it. Not out loud, I said. Not in your head. The intercom waited the half-beat, faithful to a rhythm it had chosen, and returned. Not in your head. We were not alone in the room. We were accompanied by the idea of listening. I would rather have had a dragon. I am the man who once told a flight controller to stop naming a problem and start timing it. Names make people brave for the wrong reason. Behavior keeps you alive. For a week, behavior had been trying to brief me. The wampus had flickered twice 11 seconds, gap middle of the night. Our time server returned an invalid epoch during a previous pass like a courthouse that lost its calendar. 2 nights ago, the building chime played down up exactly as the object's right ascension crossed the meridian. Leah's bench timers had jumped forward a thin sliver like milliseconds, anticipating her taps. I logged every incident because habit is a religion that lets you sit down. I also carried a memory. I never wrote down a reading directive from a room with carpets. Receive only. Unknowns that listen will learn. Unknowns that learn will test. Unknowns that test will measure you by your answers. It never used the forbidden noun. It used transient object like a surgeon uses complication. Now the object had brushed the line I had named for scheduling convenience, and the room had taken weight away like a parent hides knives. The thin tone pitched itself down and then up one hair, a curious animal at a fence. Mateo stabilized against the rack, hands white, knuckles rehearsing a kind of prayer. Leah's braid lifted a little a flag in air that preferred not to be named there. Can we power? Mateo asked, voice too loud. A rookie mistake in a room that hears no pushes, no cycles, I said. We watch the intercom half a beat later, approved we watch. Leah worked the ladder rungs along the wall like a climber who doesn't trust the mountain. I demonstrated movement, fingers hooked, tendon work, chest still, shallow breathing. The room hummed like a chest cavity. A tray of calibration rods floated past my left ear, turning slowly. I caught it with 2 fingers and parked it against the wall. A styrofoam cup rotated, tapped the fluorescent fixture, and the tube popped no fall. No shower of shards, just a dull bulb who had run out of taste for light. The plot gave us numbers without time. The access labels went from comforting to philosophical. T equals it seemed so proud of the dash. Our security door's maglock refused to cling when Leah palmed the exit bar. The indicator would not decide if red meant no or please try in a different world. The printer thunked awake and spit a strip of thermal that read, do not say Einstein undefined. Number 303 on that paper. The analog clocks on the wall still clung to 303 like jurors who think they can win by refusing to vote. The tone inhaled twice, exhaled thrice. I could feel it in my ribs. Arjun, our youngest, squeezed hand over hand along the cable tray, teeth set, eyes betraying the math he was doing to talk himself into survival. Sir, he whispered. If I used the word, he didn't finish. The needles on the legacy panel twitched upward and then surrendered, as if the room wanted to warn us with mercy. Arjun shut his mouth and learned to count breaths instead. The radio opened for 7 seconds again. Carrier only. The tone wrote it like an auditor. The log recorded duration. Time refused to belong to it. Leah's whisper slotted into the rhythm. Director, we need to secure Station 3. The chassis is floating. Station 3 was a server in a rolling cabinet. It had begun to spin gently, a slow, stupid planet. I got to it with no pushes, only hooks, rungs, knuckles on rails, a kind of movement soldiers learn in water. I caught the cabine's handle and arrested the spin, my head telling me I had gained an understanding and my bones telling me I had postponed regret. Breaths, I said. Small, the tone tilted, a flirt at a piano I never wanted to meet. The intercom borrowed me. Breathe shallow. Do not push off. It said it with kindness. I still hated it for being better at sounding like me than I am. The cursor on my console nudged toward the exit icon before my hand crept there. The time server returned green. The digital clocks found their digits, scrolled catching up to a time they had not known. The analog ones kept their 303 secret like old men. No one said the forbidden noun. We had learned a new religion in a minute. Log it, I said. Event Tango-9 crossing, microgravity on set. Static to tone, 1 pulse loss. Invalid. Analog dias frozen 303. Digital displays undefined. Cursor pre-input motion. Open carrier 7 seconds twice. Wait returns in steps. Intercom voice mimicry half beat delay. Behavior only. Leah typed like a stenographer at judgment. Mateo kept a hand on the rack and looked at the ceiling grid as though it had almost eaten his life and he would forgive it because he had been told to. The door chime gave up down. Meek. The intercom said nothing. The room decided to be a room again, offended by how much I loved it for it. We cut the rule for days, short breaths, no pushes, behavior over names. The object left our sky and came back and left again, and the boundary in the plot stayed unlabeled. Bruised, the software pretended not to remember when we were in T-looking. When it came back, the tone sometimes tried a single inhale like it wanted to confirm we still existed, then changed its mind. Twice, the radio opened a 7-second line at a time that our clocks rendered as no. The call logs recorded duration and no timestamp apparatus. I started to respect the way you respect the magician who refuses to show you their hands. We replaced the analog dials in the lab with new ones. The old faces still read 303 in a box in my office. Sometimes I open the box and the second hand looks like it's about to win an argument and then docent tears. Digital time recovered. Epoch filled its pockets back up. But in the server room, once an hour, a process hiccuped a dash into a field where numbers belong. I moved that log to its own machine like quarantining a cough. The building chime reverted to up-down unless the object was rising. Then it played down-up like a private joke. I did not laugh. Maddo remembers. Rooms. Remember to... On the fourth night, Arjun forgot himself and said the forbidden noun to a visitor at the lobby desk. The tone lifted one hair in the monitors, so small I could measure it only in the expression on Leah's face. She turned toward the speaker, and the speaker stayed quiet. The building forgave him like a teacher who writes a note and doesn't send it home. I drove home in a car that believed in gravity because it refused to believe anything else. In my kitchen, I held the countertop and waited to see if wait intended to be a friend or a rental. The microwave clock had kept time. The oven claimed to have died and been resurrected. When I opened my front door, the chime played down-up. I removed the batteries, and it still found a way to be helpful by staying silent at useful moments. At my desk, before I allowed sleep to consider me, I wrote 6 sentences for the version of me who would wake and accuse the night of being too big. The floor let go when the object crossed Tango-9. The room lost weight, not power. Analog 303 is an image, not a clock. Digital is a confession. The tone is a listener, not a speaker. Tilt is consent. Breath is a force. Do not push off. Behavior is the only name we can afford. I slept with the lights on and woke with the lights on and told no one. Why? At the lab we made a rule we pretended was temporary. If the room hears, you whisper. If the room breathes, you can't. If the room moves before your hands do, you stop. The kids learned to hook and pull and float by muscle memory they would not admit to owning in other rooms. There was action, the scrambling, the catching, the knots falling, but the terror is not the movement. It is the politeness of the room as it tells you your lungs can betray you, your verbs matter, your timing is a weapon that can be used against you. The final time it visited us a week later, the tone took one breath and the intercom tried one last kindness. In my voice, half a beat late, it whispered, "Breathe shallow, do not push off." It added a metal tap at the end, the sound of a ring against a rail, as if it wanted to remind me it knew my hands. We did as told, the weight stayed, the object passed. The line kept its bruise. I will not give you nouns you can make a pilgrimage to. I will give you behavior you can recognize if your ceiling decides to practice mercy. If your analog clocks ever freeze at 3:03 while your digital's right, if a thin tone tilts when you whisper, if your GPS beat vanishes and time becomes a dash, if a room asks you to choose between speaking and breathing, choose neither. Hook your fingers, float by rungs, short breaths, let weight return in steps, and thank it when it does. And if a voice that sounds like yours offers you rules you already knew, accept them like oxygen. Breathe shallow. Do not push off. I didn't teach the room that sentence. The room taught it to me. I'm only here to hand it to you before you need it. If this shape ever visited you weightless on set, clock says pictures, timers dash 7-second open lines, cursor anticipating hands, a tone that listens right Napashoff. Don't tell me where. Don't tell me when. Just let me know that when rooms start to hear, you remembered how to move. The lab is quiet now. The analog faces in the box still read 3:03. The rest of us have chosen verbs. I count breaths on my drive to work and pray to behavior. It is a poor religion. It is the only one that works when weight is optional. I will not say the word that makes rooms tilt. I will say line. I will say alive. And I will count out 3 until the room forgets my name again.